One thing that I wanted to touch on was one of the big narratives that we hear in the U.S. about China is just kind of the steady loss of civil liberties that's going on, and especially maybe particularly so with religious civil liberties and things like that. Is that something that I would imagine maybe with the lockdown that there might be even a more opportunity for that kind of authority or assertion of control. Is there anything like that you've been seeing?
Yeah, I mean that has been an issue here in China for a while, and the fear affects everyone, right? And in my view, it's a fear-based reaction. That the powers that be here are afraid that Christianity is equated with political influence, which it is, to be fair, in many parts of the world, right?
Sure.
So, if we just want to be fair about it, it kind of is, right? So I don't particularly knock that, but it stokes the fear, right? The fear of, if we allow churches to grow unchecked, we are allowing foreign influence back in. And remember, the context here is that this part of the world has not been free from from negative, imperialistic, paternalistic influences, right? Neither has the West, right? If we think about it from a Native American perspective, for example. But anyway, it hasn't been free. There are very recent pains, right, and struggles about that. And so the government here is in the same way that they're saying we will not allow the coronavirus back. They're saying we are not going to put ourselves back in those days anymore, right? I live in Shanghai. I'm sitting in Shanghai right now. Shanghai was famously partitioned, right? Shanghai was famously, I live an hour and a half away from Nanjing, which was famously, right? I mean, the very, very recent pains. So it's fear, right? And it's conflation of, it's an equating of Christianity with Western influence, Western political influence, and cultural influence that is combined. And so it is contributing to the approach or the attitude that is here, that is held by the powers that be,
That's
and it's really like the more that we as Christians can day by day show that perfect love drives out fear, right? Perfect love drives out fear. Christianity, the gospel, is not the same thing as democracy versus communism, or socialism versus capitalism, right? It's not the same thing as this political access or the economic access. It's not the same, right?
Yeah.
People have tried to use it to push those things before. The people have tried to use it to push agendas before, but it's not the same. At its core, perfect love drives out fear. So we got to say, all right, how can we show that love? How can we show that love? We always want someone to blame, right? Like in the States, right? This is all this conversation about who's to blame. Should we be suing China, right? There's a state that's suing China. Yeah. Or, how can we punish China for not controlling the virus, right? And we all want someone to blame so that it absolves us, right? If we blame them, it absolves us. It's like this, right? And just like the healing of the man born blind, where there's this argument about who sinned. Was he sin? Did his parents sin? Because we got to know. And Jesus is like, well, you actually don't need to know. The focus is actually not on that. The focus is, how is the glory of God going to be displayed through this man's life, right? That's the focus.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And we gotta bring that focus, back to what are we going to do as a church? What are we going to do as Christians? How are we going to show the glory of God? How are we going to drive out fear? How can we show people that there's only one perfect love out there, is the love of the gospel? Not this other stuff, not the lies, right? Dare I say, from political entities or economic agendas, right? It's not that.
Is there anything that you feel like needs to be talked about that we haven't been talking about, or that maybe the narrative or the media in America isn't bringing to the forefront? Is there anything that comes to mind that you really want to?
Geez, I feel like I jumped on enough soapboxes during this conversation. I'm sorry, and it's so heavy.
No,
I was
no.
thinking, okay, how to, but
These
it's
are great.
serious and I'm passionate about it. So I guess I get on the soapbox and I just
Oh,
go.
for sure.
I mean, I don't. I think we touched on a lot of stuff. I think that what I would leave people with is this: look, there's always hope, right? The darkness is real, but Jesus promised us that the darkness will not overcome the light, right? It will not overcome the light, right? The church is built on a rock, and the very gates of hell will not overcome it, right? These are promises. Jeremy Lin put this really well in a recent Instagram post, but and we have to hold to that and to say, look, there's hope, right? There is hope. It just might not come in the form of a political entity or an economic system or whatever. It's gonna, if we want to talk about true hope, it's only in our triune God, but there is hope, right? And so how can we get ourselves there? How can we get other people there, right? And work in this hierarchy. How can we be used by God? How can we push this forward? And we got to work on all levels of that hierarchy, that triangle, Maslow's hierarchy.
Yeah,
Man.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
it's beautiful.
All right. Well, hey, thank you, George, so much for your time. It's actually a holiday for you
George.
guys in China, and so we appreciate you taking
it's
time
Labor
out of
Day
your
here.
morning.
Oh man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you're working on
Dude,
your
that was
holiday.
so awesome. Thank you so much, George.
Yeah.
No, this is fun. I don't view this as work. This is fun. I really appreciate you guys and just the blessing of your work and of your podcast and just really pray and ask God to just maximize and multiply that, So I really appreciate that you guys had me on. I feel really privileged and blessed.
Well, we're really thankful that you're our first guest. So yeah, we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the honor is ours. Thank you so much.
Seriously,
Absolutely.
we really appreciate
Take
it.
care.
All right. Thanks.
All right.
Alrighty.